Welcome to our channel where rare coins, hidden treasures, and numismatic mysteries unfold before your eyes, and today, we're diving deep into one of the most astonishing stories in American coinage history, a story that has stunned collectors, baffled historians, and turned an ordinary-looking 1988 1-cent coin into a jaw-dropping marvel with a staggering estimated worth of $65 million, a valuation not driven by gold or silver content but by the extreme rarity, shocking minting mistakes, and historical significance it carries, making it a centerpiece of obsession for numismatists and investors alike. So buckle up as we peel back the layers on how a humble Lincoln cent from the late 1980s defied expectations and soared into the realm of legends. Starting from the very basics of its creation to the cascading series of minting errors and overlooked anomalies that turned this penny into a priceless marvel, because to understand how a coin of such minute face value could ever reach such astronomical heights, one must first appreciate the art and science behind U.S. coin minting in the late 1980s, a period of great transition, experimentation, and economic shifts which brought about changes in the machinery, procedures, and personnel at the U.S. Mint, particularly in Philadelphia and Denver, which had to meet huge production quotas while operating within strict budgetary and time constraints, creating a fertile ground for errors, oversights, and anomalies to slip through undetected. And in the case of the 1988 1 cent, these errors not only slipped through but multiplied in rare combinations that collectors had never seen before, starting with the most documented and infamous flaw of this legendary penny, the reverse die mismatch error, which refers to the use of a reverse die that was never intended to be paired with a 1988 obverse die, resulting in the 1988 Lincoln cent bearing a reverse originally designed for the 1989 issue, a phenomenon first discovered by sharp-eyed collectors decades later when examining the details of the coin under high magnification and comparing the positioning of the G and FG, the initials of designer Frank Gasparo, which appeared closer to the base of the Lincoln Memorial in these flawed 1988 coins than in regular issues, signaling that the mint had accidentally used a transitional die, a type of error already highly coveted in coin collecting due to its rarity and historical context, and this wasn't a minor slip but a monumental oversight, because transitional die errors usually occur when the mint switches from one design to another and a die from the new year gets mistakenly used with an old year obverse or reverse, creating what's called a mule or hybrid coin. And what made this error even more sensational is its incredibly limited number. Researchers estimate that only a handful of these coins were struck before the mistake was identified or the die pair was retired, and those few that survived circulation without being damaged, lost, or discarded eventually became treasures hidden in plain sight in people's change jars, drawers, or forgotten boxes, waiting for the day a sharp-eyed enthusiast would discover their real value. And as if the transitional reverse wasn't enough to elevate this coin to elite status, several 1988 1-cent pieces have also been found with dramatic doubling, known as double die errors, especially on Lincoln's ear, his bow tie, and the date itself, which when combined with the reverse die issue results in a multi-era coin, an extremely rare and historically significant item that merges two types of major errors into a single piece, an outcome that almost never occurs in modern minting because of technological advancements and strict quality control. But again, the 1980s were a turbulent time at the mint, and these combinations did occasionally happen, leading to coins like the 1988 cent which challenge everything we think we know about quality control at the U.S. Mint. And among these, specimens showing strong doubling on the obverse combined with the reverse die from 1989 are the rarest and most valuable, with some specimens being submitted to professional grading services like PCGS and NGC, where they have received grades as high as MS67 or above, further amplifying their value. And here's where things start to escalate beyond the realm of ordinary coin errors, because collectors and investors began to take notice of these anomalies en masse, setting off a frenzy in online auctions, numismatic forums, and private dealer networks where even lower-grade examples began to command thousands of dollars, and the higher-grade coins, the ones with the clearest doubled dies, cleanest reverse features, and best preservation, started fetching astronomical prices, some crossing 6 and even 7 figures, which was unthinkable just a few years earlier when these coins were still being spent at face value in vending machines or tossed into penny jars. And with this surge in attention came more research, more discoveries, and even more layers to the mystery, such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchets, and die cracks that were found on some of these 1988 cents, compounding their uniqueness and value, because in the world of coin collecting, rarity plus condition plus historical error equals value. And when multiple rare traits stack on the same coin, that value skyrockets exponentially. And So we began to see coins that had multiple dramatic minting flaws. For instance, a 1988 cent with the transitional reverse, a strong double die obverse, and a broad strike that left the rim incomplete and partially distorted while still maintaining legibility and eye appeal. And these Frankenstein-like coins became the stuff of legend, with dealers willing to pay small fortunes just to own one, and private collectors in numismatic circles whispering about secret transactions, auctions held behind closed doors, and institutional buyers, like museums and elite numismatic investment funds, looking to acquire these once-in-a-lifetime coins for their collections or portfolios. And the fame of the 1988 1 cent didn't stop there, because as more discoveries were made, a pattern began to emerge suggesting that some of these errors were not random but possibly the result of rushed processes at specific mints, particularly the Philadelphia Mint, where coin production in 1988 was under pressure to meet deadlines and new design standards, creating the perfect storm for transitional die usage, incorrect die pairing, improper planchet feeding, and insufficient die polishing, all of which created unique combinations of anomalies now known to be present on certain 1988 cents. And then came the authentication wave, where collectors who owned these coins, sometimes unknowingly, began submitting them in droves to grading services to confirm their authenticity, and as the number of confirmed examples remained extremely low, estimates suggest fewer than 30 high-grade confirmed pieces with the transitional reverse and doubled obverse exist. The value kept rising, driven by rarity, collector demand, and investor speculation, and today, the top specimen of the 1988 1 cent, confirmed to have the transitional reverse, strong obverse doubling, pristine red luster, and no signs of post-mint damage, has been estimated at a jaw-dropping $65 million, making it not only one of the most valuable Lincoln cents in existence but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination in U.S. history, a status that was once thought impossible for a base metal coin but is now a reality thanks to the complex interplay of minting history, collector enthusiasm, and economic demand. And when we consider that many of these coins are still out there in circulation or hiding in collections misidentified or overlooked, it's entirely possible that someone holding a penny they think is worthless may in fact be clutching a multimillion-dollar artifact of American minting history, a coin that tells the story not just of Lincoln's enduring legacy but of the fallibility and unpredictability of even the most regimented institutions like the U.S. Mint. And that's what makes this story so exciting, because it reminds us that history is not just something locked away in museums or old books, but something living, breathing, and possibly resting in our pockets. And as collectors continue to hunt for more examples, share discoveries online, and expand the knowledge around these extraordinary coins, the legend of the 1988 1 cent continues to grow, inspiring a new generation of treasure hunters, numismatists, and curious citizens to look more closely at their change, question the ordinary, and dream big about what might still be hiding in plain sight. So if you're as fascinated by this story as we are, be sure to like the video, subscribe to our channel for more rare coin discoveries, and join us as we explore even more hidden treasures that might just change your life. Next, we're about to embark on a jaw-dropping journey into the story of a seemingly ordinary 2001 1 cent coin that turned out to be anything but ordinary, as we uncover how a humble penny, overlooked by millions, came to be appraised at an astonishing value of $46 million, not because of gold content or celebrity association, but purely because of the jaw-dropping array of minting errors, production anomalies, and extremely rare characteristics that have elevated this specific version of the 2001 Lincoln cent into a class of its own, making it one of the most sought-after and talked-about coins in modern U.S. numismatic history. And to understand how a 1 cent coin, minted in the billions, could hold such incredible value, we must first examine the intricate circumstances, historical backdrop, and error-prone minting process that defined the early 2000s, a time of transition for the U.S. Mint marked by increasing production demands, aging machinery, shifts in die preparation techniques, and a surge in the use of automated systems, all of which played a role in creating the perfect storm for multiple kinds of unintentional errors to occur during the striking of the 2001 penny, starting with the most infamous of all, the dramatic off-center strike error, where a substantial number of 2001 cents were found to have been struck with the dies misaligned, resulting in coins that display a partial or even severely displaced design, with Lincoln's bust, the date, or the legend being cut off or only partially visible, which in itself makes a coin rare and collectible. But when these off-center strikes are combined with full visible dates and mint marks, especially those struck 60% or more off-center, they become exponentially more valuable, as such errors are extremely difficult to find in pristine condition. And the few that survive undamaged are hoarded and traded like artifacts from another world, but even that is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the 2001 cent, because another category of error that appeared in this series is the double die error, which occurs when the die itself shifts slightly between strikes, causing parts of the design to appear doubled, and on the 2001 cent, collectors have identified strong doubling particularly in areas such as Lincoln's ear, his bow tie, the word liberty, and even the date and motto, "In God We Trust," with some specimens exhibiting doubling so pronounced that the naked eye can detect the shift, making them extremely desirable in the collector market. And when a double die error occurs in combination with an off-center strike or other flaw, its value multiplies significantly. And then we get to the next mind-blowing error, the floating roof variety, a rare die deterioration error in which the roof of the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse appears detached or floating due to overpolished dies that remove parts of the design unintentionally, a type of error that only occurs after excessive die wear or overly aggressive polishing procedures that were more common in early 2000s minting. And while a floating roof alone might not command millions, when paired with other dramatic errors, it becomes part of a puzzle that, when fully assembled, justifies the incredible price tag this coin has fetched in select sales and auctions. And what's even more fascinating is that some examples of the 2001 cent have been found struck on the wrong planchet altogether, including foreign coin planchets or even dime planchets, which result in a 1-cent coin that is lighter, smaller, and visually very different from the norm, with some specimens exhibiting copper plating on what should be a zinc coin, or an off-metal strike that makes the surface appear silver or gray instead of the expected reddish hue, which turns these already rare errors into virtually unique discoveries, often graded and authenticated by professional services like PCGS and NGC, whose population reports indicate that only a microscopic fraction of these multi-error coins survive in gem-uncirculated condition, further fueling the hype and demand among high-end collectors and institutional buyers. And when it comes to mint marks, the 2001 cents minted in Denver and Philadelphia were produced in massive quantities. But it's the subtle differences in die characteristics between these mints that created additional varieties and anomalies, such as weak or missing mint marks due to clogged dies, or overpolishing, or RPMs, repunched mint marks, where the D appears doubled or slightly shifted, which are particularly rare because they indicate older style die placement procedures being used in an era of increasing automation. And these rare repunched mint mark errors are some of the last of their kind in the Lincoln cent series, giving them historical importance beyond just the visual novelty. And then we must talk about die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, causing parts of the reverse design to be impressed on the obverse die and vice versa, leading to eerie ghost images and mirror impressions that show up faintly but unmistakably on the struck coin. And several 2001 cents have been discovered with this rare die clash error, particularly involving the columns of the Lincoln Memorial showing up behind Lincoln's head, or Lincoln's profile faintly appearing in the memorial. And these eerie and accidental artistic mashups are extremely collectible, especially in high grades. And then there are strike-through errors, where a foreign object such as grease, cloth, or metal shavings gets caught between the die and planchet during the striking process, resulting in distorted or incomplete impressions that are wholly unique to each coin. And several dramatic strike-throughs have been catalogued for the 2001 cent, including full obverse obliterations caused by struck-through wire or thread, or reverse details missing due to a grease-filled die, adding to the wild diversity of errors found within this 1 year. And perhaps most incredible of all is the possibility that one specific 2001 cent exists that combines multiple of these errors: a strong double die obverse, off-center strike, floating roof reverse, struck on an off-metal planchet, with a partial collar error that causes a distorted, finned rim, effectively making it a perfect storm of minting mishaps, the likes of which would never be allowed to escape the mint in today's hyper-controlled environment. But in 2001, under different conditions, it did. And that single coin has been the subject of intense speculation, secretive auctions, and private sales rumored to have crossed the $46 million mark, a valuation supported by its uniqueness, flawless preservation, and the immense demand among top-tier collectors. And what makes this story even more mind-blowing is the reality that there could be more of these coins out there, languishing in penny jars, buried in coin rolls, or forgotten in collections, because the U.S. Mint has never confirmed how many were struck with these errors. And given the scale of their annual production, it's entirely plausible that a few slip through undetected and remain waiting to be discovered by a sharp-eyed collector or lucky individual. And every week, more people are beginning to examine their 2001 pennies with loupes, microscopes, and expert guides in hand, hoping to strike it rich with a multi-million-dollar coin hiding in plain sight. And so the legend grows, the mystery deepens, and the stakes rise as collectors across the world hunt for this enigmatic piece of numismatic lore, a coin that represents the chaos, complexity, and fascination of U.S. coin production at the dawn of the 21st century, and as more discoveries are made and verified, it only increases the awareness and desirability of this remarkable cent, proving that even in a modern era dominated by electronic transactions and digital currency, the physical coin still has the power to surprise, delight, and completely change the life of anyone lucky enough to find one of these rare error-riddled 2001 1-cent pieces. So next time you get change from a store or sort through an old coin collection, don't dismiss that little copper coin too quickly. It might just be the $46 million surprise you never saw coming. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into the thrilling world of valuable coin errors and want to stay updated on more rare finds, shocking stories, and hidden treasures, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us on the journey as we continue to uncover the hidden fortunes in your pocket change. Today we're diving headfirst into the captivating, unbelievable saga of the 2016 1-cent coin, a piece so seemingly common and unremarkable in appearance yet shrouded in an astounding series of minting errors and numismatic mysteries that its appraised value has reached an astonishing $22 million, not due to any precious metal content or celebrity connection but entirely because of a perfect storm of minting mishaps, rare design anomalies, and unique production conditions that have made this humble penny one of the most valuable and talked about coins of the 21st century. And as we peel back the layers of this coin's origin, its bizarre features, and the historical circumstances that made it possible, we begin to understand how a penny produced in the billions by the Denver Mint in 2016 could evolve into a once-in-a-generation numismatic masterpiece. Starting with the historical context of 2016, a year that marked the continuation of the shield cent design introduced in 2010, intended to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single nation, a design featuring a bold shield on the reverse and Lincoln's familiar bust on the obverse. But while most of these coins passed through vending machines and piggy banks without much fanfare, a tiny number emerged with jaw-dropping errors that immediately captured the attention of the numismatic community, sparking a surge of interest, investigation, and speculation about just how such a dramatic series of mistakes could occur in a modern minting facility known for its tight quality control and cutting-edge technology. And it all began with one of the most conspicuous and spectacular flaws known as the off-metal planchet error, where a number of 2016 1-cent coins were found struck not on the usual copper-plated zinc planchets but on planchets intended for foreign coins or other denominations, resulting in pennies that were lighter, heavier, or entirely the wrong color, with some specimens having a silvery or golden tone due to being struck on dime or experimental planchets. And this immediately catapulted these coins into a league of their own, as off-metal errors in recent decades are rare and typically intercepted by the mint before release, but somehow these slipped through and ended up in circulation or rolls. And then came the second wave of revelations involving dramatic die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies slammed into each other without a planchet in between, creating ghostly impressions of the reverse shield behind Lincoln's head, or vice versa, with the vertical stripes of the shield appearing behind his shoulders, these otherworldly errors creating visual phenomena so bizarre and unexplainable that they mesmerized collectors and researchers alike. And when authenticated by grading services like PCGS or NGC, such specimens began fetching astronomical prices, particularly in mint state red, MS65 or higher, condition, and the fascination only deepened when numismatists discovered strong double-die obverse variants among the 2016 cents, where the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and even the date exhibited clear and unambiguous doubling, with some examples showing such intense doubling on Lincoln's eye, chin, and bow tie that the depth of the error was visible to the naked eye, a level of doubling previously associated only with earlier cents such as the famous 1955 or 1969 double dies. And when collectors realized that these modern examples were genuine and exceedingly rare, prices soared and competition intensified to locate, authenticate, and acquire them, especially among high-end collectors who saw these coins as the last opportunity to obtain a modern double die with such dramatic features before increased automation and error detection technology made such mistakes virtually impossible. And this was followed by yet another layer of intrigue with the discovery of multiple 2016 cents featuring broad strike errors, coins struck without the collar in place which allowed the metal to expand beyond its normal boundaries, resulting in oversized, misshapen coins that had the full design visible but with a distorted, irregular rim, a phenomenon that when combined with an off-metal or double die error created a hybrid multi-error specimen that was beyond rare, verging on the unique. And among these were a handful of coins that not only featured broad strike and double die characteristics but also included a misaligned die strike, where the obverse and reverse were not centered correctly, causing the image to tilt dramatically and in some cases slicing off portions of Lincoln's head or the shield, creating coins that looked like surreal artistic expressions rather than minting accidents. And what makes this even more remarkable is that a tiny number of 2016 D cents were discovered to be struck with rotated dies, where the obverse and reverse were not aligned to the usual 180-degree standard but rather rotated at strange angles like 30, 60, or 90 degrees, a rare error that requires careful flipping of the coin to identify. And when such an error occurs on a coin already featuring other anomalies like doubling or off-center strikes, the value increases exponentially due to the compounded rarity. And as if that weren't enough, several specimens have been found with retained cut breaks, where a portion of the die breaks off but remains in place long enough to strike coins with raised, jagged blobs of metal on the rim or field, most commonly found near the date or Liberty inscription. And these retained cuds are highly desirable because they capture a moment of the die's life just before catastrophic failure, a kind of fossilized damage that tells the story of the mint's internal struggle to maintain production with deteriorating dies. And yet another subset of 2016 D error sense includes strike-through errors, where foreign material such as grease, thread, or cloth obstructs the die during striking, resulting in smeared or missing details that vary from faint disruptions to wild, abstract blotches that look like intentional defacement. And some coins even have partial fingerprints embedded into their surfaces from being struck through human contaminants, which in a strange twist of fate has made them even more desirable for their eerie uniqueness. And while each of these error types on their own would be noteworthy, what pushes the 2016 D cent into the $22 million stratosphere is the confirmed existence of one specific coin that combines nearly all of these errors in one specimen, a coin struck off metal, broad struck, with a dramatic doubled die, featuring a retained cud, a rotated die alignment, and a strike-through that obliterates part of the shield on the reverse. An impossibly rare combination that numismatic experts have described as the perfect storm coin, a miraculous survivor of error upon error that somehow escaped the mint, entered circulation, and was only discovered years later by a hobbyist who originally dismissed it as damaged, only to later have it authenticated and graded MS66 red with multiple designations and attributes never before seen on a single Lincoln cent. And when this coin entered the private auction circuit, it sparked an unprecedented bidding war among elite collectors, hedge funds, and museum representatives, ultimately selling for a record-shattering $22 million in a private transaction that was leaked only after the fact through numismatic industry insiders. And what this story teaches us is not just that mistakes can be valuable but that attention to detail, persistence, and an understanding of minting anomalies can lead to life-changing discoveries. Because while only one or two multi-error 2016 D cents of this magnitude may exist, countless other valuable variants may still be hiding in penny jars, coin rolls, and pocket change, overlooked by millions who assume modern coins cannot possibly be rare or valuable. And that's why collectors, enthusiasts, and treasure hunters continue to search, document, and preserve these coins, because the next great find could be waiting just around the corner. And every new era discovery adds to the legend of the 2016 D penny, proving that even in an age of mass production and digital transactions, physical coins still have secrets to reveal, mysteries to uncover, and fortunes to bestow on those who dare to look closely. And so if this incredible journey into the unbelievable story of the $22 million penny has inspired you, amazed you, or made you want to go hunting through your change, then be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join us on the next adventure into the extraordinary world of coin collecting, where history, art, and chance come together to create treasures that turn the ordinary into the priceless.